All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we're diving into something a little different. It's a guitar technique. Well, I guess you could apply it to other instruments, but it's all about how to use triads, just root, third, and fifth to create these really interesting bass lines and then improvise a second melody on top.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like setting yourself a puzzle. You've got these really strict limitations, only using the root, third, and fifth of the chord in the bass, but then you have all this freedom to create melodies on top.
Yeah, and it's surprisingly musical, too. I mean, you'd think limiting yourself like that would stifle creativity, but it really doesn't.
It's almost the opposite, right? Because you're forced to be more creative with how you use those three notes in the bass, and then with the melody, you're constantly thinking about how it relates to those bass notes. It's like, how much can we get out of just the root, third, and fifth?
It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention. You're stuck with these three notes, so you got to make them sing. Now, for our listeners who might not be guitarists, let's break down exactly what we mean by root, third, and fifth. Imagine a C major chord. The root is C, the third is E, and the fifth is G.
Exactly. And a lot of music is built around those three notes. They form the major triad, which is like, the foundation of Western harmony.
Right, the foundation. So in this technique, you're building this whole musical world using just those three foundational notes in the bass. So it's root, third, fifth, maybe back to root, or, jump around a bit, whatever sounds good.
And you can even add a little rhythm to it, like maybe you hold the root note longer, or you make the fifth note really short and punchy.
Exactly. And then, on top of that moving bass line, you've got the second voice. That's where you can really start to experiment with different colors and flavors. You can use notes like the fourth, the seventh, the ninth, anything that sounds good against those bass notes.
And that's where your knowledge of scales comes in handy. For example, let's say you're playing over a C major chord. If you stick mostly to the notes of the C major scale for that second voice, you get a really bright and cheerful sound.
But then it gets even more interesting when you start moving those arpeggios, which is just a fancy way of saying playing the chord tones one after another across different chords in a progression.
Yeah.
Like when we talked about C major earlier, that's the one chord. Then you have the 4 chord and the 5 chord, which are F major and G major.
And each of those chords has its own unique flavor, right? Like if you move that arpeggio pattern over to the F major chord, you naturally get this Lydian sound. The Lydian mode uses all the same notes as C major, but it starts and ends on the F.
Oh yeah, the Lydian scale. That's like instant Disney movie magic. It's so bright and uplifting.
Yeah, but then if you shift the same pattern over to the G major chord, you get the Mixolydian sound, which is like the blues scale.
Right, you go from Disney to Smoky Jazz Club, just like that, all with the same basic technique.
Exactly, and it really highlights how important it is to understand harmony and how different scales create different moods and emotions. And get this, you can even bring in the harmonic minor scale.
Ooh, now the harmonic minor scale, that's where things get really interesting, right? That's a much darker sound, at least compared to the major scale.
It is. The harmonic minor scale has this kind of mysterious quality to it. And when you set it against a major chord, you get this really cool dissonance. It creates a sense of tension and release.
Like that feeling you get when you're listening to a really dramatic film score. So we've got this incredible technique, a structured bass line that uses only the root, third, and fifth of the chord, and this freedom to create endless melodies over the top, using our knowledge of scales and harmony. And the possibilities are kind of endless.
That's the beauty of it, right? It's like this framework for improvisation that you can use in so many different ways. And it makes you wonder, could you apply this to other instruments? Like, could a pianist use this technique? Or a horn player? Could you even sing it?
Or take it into other genres.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine this technique applied to jazz or even classical music.
Yeah.
That's something to think about, right? It's a whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, keep those musical wheels turning, and we'll catch you next time.